Okay, welcome back to Lenz Comic Corner Classics as known classic. This is episode 1377 and Doubleshot number 1271. I have roughly one Marvel trade, one DC trade. Let's start with DC trade first. First up, we have Hawkman Volume 3 Darkness Within. This collects issues 13 to 19 of Hawkman Volume 4. There's actually about 3 different story arcs in here. First of which, it's kind of basically a two-parter where you kind of have Hawkman exploring more of his past lives, continuing a plot thread for the first 12 issues of this run, where basically you have these various factions. This was this long war that has been going on for about 300-400 years, and basically Hawkman keeps getting reincarnated as this one soldier from one side and another, going back and forth for quite a while. And then he requires one incarnation, like, screw this, I'm not going to get killed again. I'm just going to basically just make peace with him. And just by sheer coincidence, on the other side is Shiera, his frequent reincarnated lover. Yep, and of course Hawkman visits the planet, where this is actually not United States. Oh no, this looks like basically like a futuristic style World War I, thanks to having trench warfare. But no, it actually is a planet. And then the very next story arc, we have Hawkman basically just, doing stuff normally he would do. He's meditating, then he's attacked by his own shadow. You're probably thinking, why would his shadow attack him? Well, it's technically not his shadow. It's the Shadow Thief, a.k.a. Carl Sands. Now you're probably asking, Nick, who the heck is Carl Sands? Who the heck is this guy? He is the original Shadow Thief. He's an old Garner Fox villain from the 1960s, occasionally fought Hawkman over the years. As a matter of fact, this is the first time in quite a while he actually physically appeared. Though, here's the strange thing, though. I believe this is his first post-Flashlight appearance of this character. Yeah, I don't think he actually has appeared for quite some time. Though, mostly, he was basically doing some dreaming. Now, let me show you Carl Sands. Basically, this is a shocker to see this guy. Yeah, and this is what he looks like. Yeah, that is Carl Sands, the Shadow Thief. Now, those of you familiar with only the post-Flashpoint version where it's a woman, where the heck she is, don't know. They don't bring her up here. This is this is Hawkman. This is the original Shadow Thief, which is great. It starts a story that lasts for several issues, which have basically where he not only can basically take a shape of shadows now, he basically has got more powerful. Of course, the reason why he's here, because it's a Year of the Villain tie-in. Yep, it's a Year of the Villain tie-in, where Lex Luthor makes him an offer, and he accepts. Become more powerful. I'm like, okay, interesting. Yeah, not surprising he knew Lex Luthor is. Like, everybody knows who Lex Luthor is. So he fights, and then, here's the strange thing, though. We have Hawkman, because he controls shadows now, in a similar way to another person who was a villain but is a superhero now. He gets in contact with the Shade. Wow. I did not expect to see Richard Swift, a.k.a. the Shade. This is actually his first appearance since his brief two-parter from The Flash. Which, wow. And they mentioned his girlfriend, Hope O'Hare. O'Dare. Yeah, these two actually hooked up in the James Robinson run. Which, here's the strange thing. That run is actually canon with this continuity. And you probably scratch really? They kept that canon. And yet they couldn't keep the JSA canon until recently. Yeah, they kept that canon. And they also point to something quite interesting, though. Okay, the first time these two met was back in 1948, where they fought the Gentleman Ghost. Which, yeah, that is an old Hawkman villain. Some people do know about the Gentleman Ghost, mainly due to his few appearances he made on Batman Brave and the Bold. And this is technically Gentleman Ghost's first appearance in a DC comic book since the Gotham Midnight annual release back, I think it was 2015. This came out in 2019, mind you. Yeah, this came out in 2019. So, this is his first appearance in 4 years, which great to see the guy, though it's mostly in flashback. And of course, why is Hawkman teaming with the Shade? Because apparently the Shade, Now, apparently, Shadow Thief is going to some powers to Shade. They mentioned about his cane he normally has. The fact he actually loathes the cane. He hates using the damn thing, but he just has to use it because it's part of his thing. Yep, so they team up and they take on the Shadow Thief. They go to the Shadowlands, which this was an area they actually visited back in the two-parter from Flash. And they fight the Shadow Thief, and they win. The Shadowlands get restored to a proper state, but the thing is, because now Hawkman was actually going to kill Carl Sands, but Shade stops him. He says, despite the fact that he had probably every right to kill him, but technically since he interfered with the Shadowlands, they had to punish him. And that's the accuracy of the Shadow Thief, because as far as I know, he hasn't been here since then. And then something really weird happens. We cut to Earth 3. Yes, Earth 3. Where we come across an Earth 3 Hawkman. Who is this guy? Sky-Tyrant. Yeah, Sky-Tyrant. He's an evil Hawkman from Earth 3. You have no mention of the crime scene here. Now, here's kind of the strange thing about the Earth 3 Hawkman. I think it was briefly mentioned. I think it was by Deathstorm. I think it was. Where that Mathis, a.k.a. Earth 3 Lex Luthor, Shazam spelled backwards, it's implied he killed him. But they never said his name was Sky-Tyrant. It just said it was implied they killed the Earth 3 version of Hawkman. Here he is alive and well, and they also have a sort of a good version of the Shadow Thief, which is Shadow Sheriff. Along with a few other people, which are like, really? Yeah, really. We also have the Matter Mage. Probably it's a play on, I'm not really sure. We also have Leon Mass, the Pinkerton Ghost, which is a play on the Gentleman Ghost. Yeah, and this group is known as the Justice Society All-Stars. Yeah, this is them. And this is their only appearance. And because of stuff going on in the pages of Justice League, and mostly you're the villain, because apparently Carter Hall thinks he got back in Shadowlands, but apparently he didn't, so Sky-Tyrant goes to Prime Earth. Yep, he goes to Prime Earth, and he basically acts back control. Apparently he starts killing innocent people. Yeah, Carter Hall points out like, really? You're killing innocent people? What is wrong with you? And then, like, something really interesting happens. Shire Athal shows up. Yes. From Hawkworld. Now, this is not Hawkgirl from Justice League. This is Hawkwoman from the Hawkworld comics. Which, that's interesting, the fact they have the woman here, which is quite interesting. And they fight, and I think, as far as I can tell, I think they don't really wrap up the whole storyline with him. And then he does some really cool. He gets onto the Hawkman space. He opens up his museum, where we see these bunch of like old Hawkman costumes. Which, I love this. I mean, I like seeing this for a legacy superhero, for superheroes around for a long time. Have no version of a Batcave. This, of course, is like similar to the Hawkman Museum, which is fantastic. And this also is a nod to the fact that Carter Hall was once the curator of the Midway City Museum. They meant Midway City in here, but he's not there. He's basically still an archaeologist. I gotta say, this book is great. I love the artwork in here. Of course, it's at the very end of the book with the whole Shadows thing. Now, Robin Venditti is still the writer of this book. I think he writes all the issues. And here's something quite interesting, though. Okay, now after 12 issues, this is when they changed the writer. Not the writer, the artist. Which is interesting, though. Because if you read any New Age books, this book was the only one that actually maintained its original artist beyond issue 3. Because for some strange reason, I have no idea what this is probably the reason why that New Age line actually wasn't successful for DC, was because the original artist left the book after 3 issues. This book surprisingly kept its original artist for 12 issues and left, and replaced by Pat Offey and Will Conrad. Here's some material artwork for it. Yeah, this book is great. Give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. I love it. It's a purely fantastic book, and I believe there's still one trade left. And that one's containing the last 10 issues of the series. Though, my opinion about the series ending, I think it was a mistake. for DC to end the series for a good reason. It's a good series. Why would you end this series? It is so good. Like, if you're a fan of Hawkman, you enjoy this. I mean, the stuff in here is very well plotted out, and it's just a really good book. It's just a shame the book gets canceled like last year. I think it was canceled maybe the pandemic. I highly doubt it was canceled low sales because I'm sure this book was probably selling decently by DC Comics standards. Our next book is quite interesting. It's not collected from one series. It's a trade that collects various appearances by this character. This is Shang-Chi, Earth's mightiest martial artist. Yeah, despite the fact you have the classic Shang-Chi logo, like artwork, there is actually none of the classic Shang-Chi issues in here. Nothing from Master Kung Fu, nothing from his first appearance. Nope, it's just various other comics he appeared over the years. First up, it is from the pages of X-Men Volume 2. We have issues 62 to 64, along with the last two issues of Heroes for Hire Volume 1, issues 18 and 19. Shadowland Spider-Man, Secret Avengers number 18, and Avengers Volume 5, number 11. Now, who writes these issues? Well, the X-Men issues are done by Ben Rabb, art by Chris Baccio. This three-parter basically deals with interesting stuff here. Like them teaming up to take on I think it was a version of some. Basically, a lot of this book was basically following up with stuff that happened at the end of the Shang-Chi book. Because I believe, I think this may have been Shang-Chi's first appearance since the end of his ongoing series back in the mid-'80s. And this mostly is a follow-up to that. We also have something interesting, though. We also have Fujira, a company later to be associated with Stark International, where apparently I think it's the Hawkman branch, is headed by a character who has never appeared in X-Men comics prior to this. And after this, has no association with the X-Men. You'd probably be shocked to see this. Even reading this again, wow, because it's been some time since I read these issues, because it's been a few years, because I own a good chunk of these issues. Yeah, I managed to get these issues for a quarter a piece from the library. I sell a boatload of these issues. I managed to get almost the first 100 issues really quickly. Who is the head of the American branch of Fujira? Why, none other than Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Yes, the Kingpin is an X-Men comic, which that is quite strange because Wilson, he's newest chief executive officer. Okay, now this I thought was kind of weird. Wilson Fisk, part of this, has had no association with the X-Men, and yet here he is. And of course, the ending of this storyline is quite interesting because the ending of this storyline sets up Operation Zero Tolerance, which is a aftermath storyline, which was the next major crossover the X-Men had after Onslaught. Yep. Next up it is Heroes for Hire 18 and 19. Now, I have reviewed 15 and 16 already along with the annual, thanks to reviewing Quicksilver. Well, Avengers Quicksilver. Yes, if in case you're curious though what exactly happened in because we have 18, 19 here and now one has 15, 16. What happened in issue 17? It was a date night between Luke Cage and She-Hulk that is actually mentioned a few times since then. Basically, to have a very brief relationship in this book, and then they apparently broke up off screen. Then Luke Cage took up with Jessica Jones. Yes, this two-parter basically has to do with Shang-Chi for a mission, and then we have Namor show up in this book. Yes, Namor associated with this version of the Heroes for Hire. Now you're probably thinking why is Namor the Submariner associated with the Heroes for Hire? Well, there's a reason for that. And that reason is because he actually was the one who actually owned the company that financed the damn team. What company is that? Oracle. Yes, it was something he started back in his own solo book, which was published in the 1980s. And apparently that Namor was getting kind of tired after a while, so he decided to sell the company to Stark Fujira. Yes. He sold it to them. And here's the thing. They actually have Bethany Arbogast basically working the secretary of this particular company, which that's interesting, an old Iron Man character. Oh, and by the way, the leader of the team was Jim Hammond, the Human Torch. And the various members, people like Ant-Man, well, Shang-Chi is a guest star here, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. At one point, Deadpool was briefly part of this team. Yes, Deadpool. As I mentioned, they're basically informed by it and they meet the new owners, which they apparently wanted to remove Luke Cage and Scott Lang because they're ex-cons. Like, oh, we're not good image for ex-cons. Well, here's kind of the thing about these two. Luke Cage was pardoned. Did this guy not do his damn research about Luke Cage? Yeah, he spent time in prison, but here's the thing. He got pardoned for his crimes. For his, his fake charges. The charges were dropped against him. Scott Lang, yeah, he's an ex-con. But he's redeemed himself. He's a superhero. Oh, and by the way, what is the Heroes for Hire's response to him trying to remove two members of the team? They pretty much all quit. All members quit. And that was also at the time the end of the Heroes for Hire series. At the time, for about 8 years. Yeah, actually, no, 9 years this book was gone. It was brought back as part of a tie-in to Civil War I, which in itself didn't actually last as long. It actually lasted almost just as long as this book did. Yeah, it managed to last almost the same length, but it was 4 issues shorter. Heck, even the next volume that came just a few years later, that was even shorter than that one. That was only 12 issues. And plus, they had a one-shot for Spider Island. It's an interesting two-parter. Shadowland Spider-Man is, simply put, basically, it's a kind of a follow-up to what had been going on in the Spider-Man comics at that point, which that Shang-Chi had shot Spider-Man his own style of martial arts due to losing his spider sense. And it also involved him basically becoming possessed by Mr. Negative. Yes, Mr. Negative. And a lot of people get really tired of the character because he gets so overused by Dan Slott. Though he currently is appearing in the King's Ransom storyline by Nick Spencer. Though as far as I can tell, he's not the next villain. Oh no, it's a Chameleon that book. Yep. And basically, of course, Spider-Man just successfully frees Shang-Chi from Miss Negative's control. Now, as for their 2 issues, well, they're just basically solo missions for Shang-Chi. Missions that involve him. Like, both espionage-style missions. They're both pure fun. Though in the case of Avengers, basically we offered to buy AIM. That is actually loose setup for something that would happen in the pages of Avengers World, where he actually would successfully buy AIM and transform it into Avengers Idea Mechanics from Advanced Idea Mechanics. Yep, as in the case of the Avengers one, it was quite interesting. It's mostly them basically trying to steal a piece of technology that even Reed Richards basically is questioning where to get it from. Yeah, but this book is great. I like the stories in here. They're good. The problem is, like, we had the Shang-Chi movie come out really soon, and you chose these stories. Like, by the way, I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Yeah, the other writers on here, aside from, well, Ben Rabb, we have Scott Lobdell, who actually co-writes a couple of the issues for X-Men. We have Dan Slott, Warren Ellis, and Jonathan Hickman, also as writers, too. Now, I think that John Ostrander wrote the Heroes for Hire issues. Warren Ellis did Secret Avengers. Jonathan Hickman did Secret Avengers. I think Slott did Shadowland Spider-Man. The artists on here are Carlos Paccio, Bakel Furry, Pago Sakura, David Aja, and Mike Dino Jr. This front cover here is done by Gail Kane and Dan Atkins. The back cover here is actually a variant cover by David Aja. Yep. Yeah. This cover is good. Yeah, there was one thing I do kind of criticize, but it's like, okay, if you're going to have, like Shang-Chi from, 90s-ish, why not also include his time in Journey to Mystery? I'm surprised that has not been collected in trade. And you're probably thinking, really? That era has not been collected in trade? His brief time in Journey to Mystery? Yeah. I think he appeared for 3 issues. He came in just after the Lost God storyline wrapped up, which I believe lasted about 10 issues. I think he lasted from 5 517 to about 519, because they also had a Black Widow feature in the book. Yep. Yeah, this is during a period of time when, well, because they brought back Journey to Mystery under this numbering, because they continued from the Thor number, which Thor was a continuation of Journey to Mystery. Yeah. But how much I'll say about these two trades? Both really good. Now, as the next comic order happen, probably a couple days. But these two trades are good. I do recommend them. Well, in the case of Hawkman, try this book out. It's so freaking good that it was kind of stupid for DC in this book. In the case of Shang-Chi, check out if you're curious. If you're a fan of the X-Men, you might actually like this book because it contains a few issues. Because the issues leading to Operation Zero Tolerance, I don't think I've covered that crossover yet for X-Men. No, I don't believe I have. I don't remember if I have or not, but it'd be interesting if I do. I'll look up later if I have covered it or not. Yep. But in the case of Heroes for Hire, it is interesting, though, out of the 19 issues this volume published, and yet only 4 of the issues are actually in trade. And you probably scratch your head like, really? Only 4 issues? Yeah, I don't really get it. Yet the second, third volume, they're all in trade, no problem. But the first volume, 4 issues. And this is John Ostrander book. Now, DC would collect John Ostrander books, no problem. But apparently Marvel has got a problem collecting John Ostrander books. The only book I could think of where they put all those issues for one book to put in one trade is his Quicksilver issues. Like, is his Punisher issues trade? As far as I can tell, one I think is. But entirely, there is no regular trade for it. Kind of the same thing for Heroes for Hire. I kind of wish there was. Because you can easily fit in this 19 issues in just a couple trades. Yeah. Because it's quite interesting of a book. Especially in the very first issue, you have the UFOs break out the vault and then they destroy the damn prison. Yeah, the vault is completely destroyed in the first issue. And then, now, as far as I could tell at the time, this was meant to be sort of a semi-replacement for the Avengers. And I think the book was canceled not due to low sales, but because the Avengers came back. That was mainly the reason why this book even exists in the first place. But there's nothing really wrong with this series. Oh, just a really good series. Written by a damn good writer. Now, if you look at, let's say, John Ostrander time at Dark Horse, everything as far as I can tell that he wrote for that company, that's all in trade. DC, small chunks here and there. The only books I can think of he wrote basically are completely in trade. Well, there's only one. And that's Suicide Squad. He's got like a couple trades collecting his Martian Manhunter run. I think he's got 3 trades collecting his Spectre run. Let's see. He's had one trade collecting one issue of Manhunter. An issue was Firestorm stuff. Like little bits here and there. Mostly just Suicide Squad got complete. It's the only one that got complete finished. Everything else, like I said with Martian Manhunter and Spectre, they were started, but they weren't finished. But at least DC's tried. Marvel has never had a complete run for him. No, not really. And yet he didn't do that much for Marvel. He did Punisher, Heroes for Hire. Let's see, was anything else he worked on for Marvel? Aside from those two, he didn't do a lot for Marvel, but they're both really good books. There's something different. But God forbid Marvel actually like his stuff. Maybe he had this game Marvel. That's probably the reason why they haven't really done much with him. Okay? Yeah. So that's it for this clip view. And that's pretty much it for videos today. So stay tuned for tomorrow. Well, I'll probably do a video for, I'd say, One Piece. Because, well, there is a One Piece. Well, the newest episodes come out tomorrow. Aside from that, you might get a comic card tomorrow. It just depends. Okay? To the next video. Bye.